Welcome back to the Marvel Movie Minute, a daily podcast in which we assemble to explore the films of the Marvel Cinematic Universe 1 minute at a time. In this, our 6th season, we are looking at The Avengers. I'm Andy Nelson from the Next Reel Film Podcast.
And I'm Pete Wright, but I'd rather be the god of hammers.
Today, we're talking about minute 98, which begins with Steve entering the sick bay and ends with Hill revealing the actual location of Coulson's cards. Back on the show, sadly for the last time this season, it's playwright Dean O'Carroll. Hello, Dean.
Hey, yes, it is sad to say goodbye, but what a cool moment of lock and load that I get to go out on.
No kidding.
The beginning of the third act of this movie. It's nice to be here for this.
And sassy Maria Hill too. You feel like she's digging a little bit, just digging.
This part is kind of consolation because Tig had wanted her to be Wonder Woman, right? When he was going to be doing a Wonder Woman movie, I think she was his ideal casting for it. So this part is sort of like the closest he could get for it. It seems like.
Interesting. I hadn't heard that.
That would have been interesting. I hadn't heard that. That would have been an interesting twist.
Yeah, certainly. We'll talk about her more toward the end of this minute when we have the moment between her and Fury. Let's start. We're in the sick bay. Steve is coming in to get Natasha, and we find out that Clint is back on their side. I guess this is the first official meeting of Steve and Clint Barton at this particular point in the film. Although it's not much of a meeting, it's just it's kind of the typical Steve reaction where he just kind of nods and says, "Got a suit? Then suit up." It's like, all right, you're good to go. If she's good with you, I'm good with you. That's pretty much what we get.
That's something I love about Steve is that he's so practical and that he's game to give people these chances. I love the contrast between when he first meets Bruce Banner and says, I hear you're the guys who help us find this thing. And that's all you hear. Like, that's all that matters.
Yeah.
Instantly about putting him at ease and, and making sure he feels valuable versus Tony's, he starts off with, fussing over him, but then needs to get the upper hand by saying like, also, I love how you turn into a giant green rage monster. Also needs to say like, I also know your weakness. So, don't, that's, always needs to keep that distance between himself and people. And, Steve is all about, making people feel valued and Tony's all about making people understand their boundaries.
Right. Yeah, great point. In the start of this minute, when Steve walks in and looks at Natasha, says, "Time to go." She says, "Go where?" And then he says this, "I'll tell you on the way, can you fly one of those jets?" And it just makes me wonder, did he get hit on the head? Because wasn't she flying to Stuttgart, like a whole flight back and forth where she was sitting up there? Now, I know there's another pilot and maybe she's kind of co-piloting it or the gunner. I'm not exactly sure, but she sure seemed like she had her hands on the wheel and everything. So
I was just listening to your episode where you were discussing this. Yes, yeah, I remember. Yeah.
It's so strange. I'm like, why?
This is problematic.
Like, why is this written this way? And it's purely to get Barton coming out of the bathroom saying, "I can."
Yeah. And
like, that's his introduction. And I'm like, God, they really could have figured this out better because we already saw her flying one of these with Steve in it. It strikes me as funny that that's the way that they decided to craft this.
So I'm going to give you a generous read. Are you ready?
Please.
Are you ready? The generous read is that Steve is assuming that they'll need to get there in a quinjet, but that Black Widow will be with him in the fight, and someone will need to essentially.
Then why is he asking her if she can fly it?
Trying, man. I'm trying. Give me
maybe
a generous
he knows that her leg
too.
is hurt. Maybe he's worried that she won't be able to operate the pedals.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, it's fine. It's stupid. I know. It's ridiculous, but it's fine.
Yeah.
But this does kick off our montage.
It does. And I really wanted him to say when got a suit and he's like, "Yeah." I was like, "Oh, is it going to be a purple suit?" Oh, no, it's not. It's just black. He's just basically put some leathers on just so he can look like the rest of the S.H.I.E.L.D. team. But yes, we do get the montage. This is, we're getting a whole bunch of things, starting with Thor. We see Thor grabbing Mjolnir from the field, and then he'll be summoning lightning. Cap gets his shield. Hawkeye gets his quiver. And Natasha, this is this moment where we get to see her prepping what they call the Black Widow's Bite. This is the electroshock weapon used. We kind of saw a version of this with, I think it had the bracelets in Iron Man 2, but this is essentially her weapon that she and all the other people from the Red Room use. It functions, the weapon functions, has two shaped bracelets worn by the user. They can deliver powerful electrical discharges. Each bracelet is marked with blue lights from electrical capacitors and electrical wiring that appear when activated and allows their wielder to electrocute enemies by making contact with a pair of electrical probes.
We have never seen it this close up, right? Am I forgetting something? I don't think we've ever seen a suit-up view of the bite.
I don't think in Iron Man 2 that because this is very much everybody's getting their weapons montage, as you were saying. And so if she was using it in this capacity, I don't think it was demonstrated as effectively as we have it here.
Yeah. And I love it. I actually really love it because it sort of, even though, and let's just real talk, this little electrodes thing and the quiver of arrows doesn't quite level up with the Iron Man welding suit and the shield and the hammer conjuring lightning from the sky. Like it's not quite there, but it does feel like it's attempting to put all of these characters on the same playing field, that they deserve to be in the same jet together that they're about to get on, that they get the A-team walk together, and that should mean something.
You always want things to be equivalent. I remember when my kids were little, they were playing with toys, and one of them had an Obi-Wan Kenobi action figure, and the other one had Rex the dinosaur from Toy Story. And I heard them say, and Obi-Wan turns on his lightsaber, and the other kid says, and Rex turns on his teeth. So yeah, it is a bit of that. Boy, I remember there's a comics event in the late 80s, early 90s called Acts of Vengeance, which was like, the bunch of villains team up to sort of mix and match and take on heroes they'd never fought before. And there's a promotional image of the villains just standing over the destroyed tools of the heroes. So it was like, Cap's shield and then Mjolnir and so on. At the time, they were trying to promote the character of Quasar. And so Quasar's, armbands were also in the pile of like destroyed weapons. It's like, no, I'm sorry. That's not an icon. I know you want it to be.
Not an icon.
Quasar wants it to be.
Yeah, so bad.
Quasar probably put them there.
Yes. Quasar, we'll be seeing him in Phase 7, maybe.
Yeah, right. Somewhere down the road.
Yeah, listener, don't go do your homework on Quasar yet.
He's not without his charms, but yeah.
Right. Well, so yeah, everybody's getting ready. Tony is fixing his mask, which is, I guess, nice to see, because last time he was wearing it is when he's kind of rolling around in the turbines. And does he really, is anything happen to this guy? It's nice to see, okay, well, at least he does have to do a little bit of work with his mask to get it up and running. And he does sport the nice bruise on his cheek. So clearly they're trying to demonstrate, even though he's in this suit of armor, there are still things that can injure him.
Yeah, like his neck should have been broken, but it's fine.
Yeah, right. His arms ripped off.
Right. It's fine. He's using he's welding something, but it also looks like it's like a Dremel tool causing the sparks to come up, and also then the lights in the eyes turn on, which I always think is strange. What sort of mechanical wizardry is he imparting on the helmet to make all of those things happen together? I don't know, but it looks cool. And I like the crash into it, like the sort of tilt push into him working in full montage mode.
Yeah, and the depth of field is nice and shallow, so as we push in, the mask comes into focus, and Tony goes a little soft. Also,
right as the lights turn on.
Yeah. Also, this montage is possibly, other than the bridge, the busiest we have ever seen the helicarrier.
Yes.
It's like through the entire fight, it's never been populated. Like everyone went and hid in their rooms,
massive quarters
or something. Yeah. But this is the first time it's like, wow, okay. All Tony is doing is doing a little bit of light welding on his mask, but there's easily half dozen people cutting in and out from front and behind of him, and so there's actually now that I look, it's only 3, so half a dozen. So a little less than I thought, but that's the magic of the movies. It felt like so many more.
It felt like so many. Well, and when we get the power team walk across the hangar is very busy, and there's actually someone on the Quinjet. Yeah, which those things are never occupied.
And I love that Steve calls him son.
I know.
And it's like like, first of all, I mean, I was trying to do the math earlier. Steve is nominally 94 years old, but he's also actually 27.
Right.
So calling anybody son when you're 27 is a little ridiculous.
It does imply that Steve feels older than he is, which is so strange to me, because really, was he conscious of all those years in the ice? I don't think so.
It's a line that does kind of bug me, because it's like, are they trying to make him act like an old man, like he is from the 40s? Because it just makes him seem like he's really old as opposed to from a different time. Like nobody in the 40s who was in their 20s was walking around calling people son.
As far as you know. I mean, were you there?
Well, as far as I know,
you were there.
Unless it was a kid, like a little kid, or maybe their own son. Son.
Yes. Yeah.
Look, stop lying. Everything you learned about the 40s, you learned from Captain America.
All right. That's true. That's true.
I mean, I guess the line is always like, people who served World War II grew up really fast, and like, well, okay, yeah, and I certainly won't say claim that I could possibly comprehend what they went through. But yes, it still amuses me as a moment.
I'm trying to remember if Tommy Lee Jones ever said that to Steve at any point in the film. Possible, it's entirely possible that I learned it from watching you sort of situation where maybe that's where we'll leave it.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's like in Star Trek Generations, where Kirk at one point says, "Oh, well, saving the universe when your grandfather was in diapers." Like, well, yeah, but biologically, you're only like maybe 10 or 15 years older than that.
Right. Yeah. Right. Exactly. Yeah. All right. So Thor, meanwhile, is by himself in this field. He's really conjuring quite a series of dark clouds and swirling around him. And the lightning starts shooting down from the skies. I am amazed that this field does not set ablaze, because there's so much lightning coming down as Thor summons it. It's a lot. It looks great though. I love the look of it, and I love that Thor's doing this. My question though, unless either of you want to talk about kind of the look of everything going on with Thor in the field, but how does Thor know where he's going?
He's got a sense of direction like a bird.
Is that it?
He's like a compass. Yeah. Only north and south. So he just has to hope that he knows to go, just a little bit south. He's going to be fine.
Mm. Yeah, it would be nice if we'd seen those ravens again. Now maybe if they could have,
right.
just blurring, just to see them. Which I had never noticed before until I heard you guys mention them on your show, and I did notice them when I was rewatching to prepare for this. So
that would be great to see Hoonan and Moonan come in and fly to guide him there or something. That would have actually been a cool little beat. Although a lot of people would probably, who hadn't read the comics would be like, what is up with him following birds around?
Great Odin's Raven, like Anchorman says.
Yeah, right. It's a thing. It's a thing. I would something that I think could work. They don't show it, and it would make sense. I just don't know why they don't show it. I mean, sure, Thor is on the ground down here and stuff, but I would think that the helicarrier, it's not cloaked at this particular point. It's been attacked and it's kind of smoking. I would think that Thor could potentially just look up into the sky and see, oh, hey, there's a smoking aircraft up there. I'm going to swing my hammer that direction and head up to it. So I would think that would be a very easy way to kind of get back to the team. I can't imagine that they've flown that far away from where he fell.
I guess I don't know. I don't know. The idea that he doesn't how does he know how to direct himself to anywhere? Somehow he found the Quinjet in flight when they were carrying Loki around. Maybe I give him more credit than that. It's Thor's intuitive sense of direction.
Yeah, we'll see when he makes his way to
Does Thor go to the helicarrier, or does he go straight to Manhattan?
He goes to Manhattan. I'm just saying that I would think that if he's trying to get back with his team, that he could say, hey, there's the helicarrier up there, because it's that smoking thing up in the sky, and go there and then go, oh, hey, they're in Manhattan. All right, I'll go there. I think that there are ways that they could have crafted it where I could have, figured out how he got there. But as it stands, it's like, he's going to disappear and then he's going to appear on the roof of Stark Tower. It's like, oh.
Mm-hmm.
How did you even know where Stark Tower was? Yeah, like it, he of all of them knows the least about where things are and what's going on. But that's, I guess, the way that that he works. Sometimes he just shows up
in the complete dark.
That's right. All right.
Are you not the god of compasses?
Everybody else has an earpiece in because they're all able to communicate during the battle by radio. Do we get any evidence that Thor has an earpiece that he's wired in during the battle? I mean, Hulk presumably is not, because how could he be? But
gosh, that's a great question. I'm trying to remember now if somebody tells him to head back somewhere. I feel like he has to be so. I don't know. That's a great question. I maybe they all do have their headpieces in, their earpieces in, and are communicating that way. It's one of those things that we just kind of assume until the point where they actually start talking to each other through it. So even Bruce, it's like, oh, that's a good question. Is Hulk's ear canal, I would assume that it gets bigger. So if he had an earpiece in as Bruce and then hulked out, that it would just fall out.
It would fall into his head.
It would just sink in.
It just gets lost in his ear canal. Who knew this is where we would go here? Biologically, earpieces are problematic.
Yeah. For years, people have talked about how do Hulk's pants stay on, but what about a smaller thing?
Yeah, what about
a much smaller thing?
Well, we do get the hero walk, as you said, Pete. We get, although it's not all of them. I don't know why Iron Man doesn't show up for this. We see his HUD. He gets his mask working and his HUD's back up and running. But we just get Captain America, Black Widow, and Hawkeye in kind of the hero walk through the hangar, the air deck, as they're walking to the Quinjet. And it looks cool. I really like this. But it is one of those moments where if Iron Man is here, why is he not here? Does that strike either of you?
Well, I think about it only because, why? It would be weird if you give the hero walk and have both Tony and Steve. Where do you put them? There is no appropriate triangle that makes this look as cool, right?
Well, you could have four of them in a row, and then Tony and Steve could be on the ends, and it could, instead of the triangle walk that we have here, it could just be the power walk of the four of them. Which, I mean, you've seen that plenty of times too. It's the slow-mo walk of everybody kind of walking toward the camera, and I think it could still work as a foursome.
It's on RuPaul's Drag Race every week.
Which one looks better, though? Probably that one.
I just think the characters who are imbued with the power of flight are okay not boarding the Quinjet. I think that's the more practical reason.
Well, yeah, I think you're absolutely right. It's one of these moments. And obviously, I guess they're saving the hero moment for later when they're all in New York together. But still, It is one of those moments.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we get these three boarding the Quinjet. And this is where we run into this conundrum that we keep running into, Pete, of people that we have identified with the IMDb game as one character and then go, oh, no, I think this is actually who you are.
Oh, dear.
We talked about the maintenance guy back when Natasha falls through and Bruce is starting to Hulk out, and those two maintenance men run over to her, and one of them says, are you okay? And then she kind of shoos them away to protect them. We talked about our maintenance guy in that particular scene, thinking that this was Josh Cowdery, maintenance guy, who was, in fact, one of the two who was shooed away by Black Widow. But now that I see this, I'm like, oh, wait a minute. I think this is actually Josh Cowdery, our maintenance guy. And I think this is his moment in the spotlight. It's possible he did both, but I'm pretty sure when you look at his face and you check him on IMDb, I'm like, oh, no. Yeah, I think this is him. Yet again,
you're not going to make us play the IMDb.
Oh, no.
Again.
We already did it. I'm not going to.
Okay.
No, I wouldn't do that.
Andy, I just want to assure you, I'll fail again.
Just for me.
Like, it's not like I committed these things to memory from that one time we played like 70 minutes ago.
Well, I would be amazed if you could remember anything. And he is one of them where the Avengers is not.
That was what I was going to say. Is he the one who's going to sandbag and not get a top 4 on the Avengers? So I would have gotten that. I can't tell you a single one of the others.
Honestly, it's possible as I look at him, I'm like, maybe this isn't Josh Cowdery. Like, I'm starting to lose my mind with some of these people. I'm like, is this him? Is this not him? I don't know. Josh, contact us. We'll have you on the show and we can sort this whole thing out. Man. Oh my gosh. But
wouldn't it be great if it was Josh playing the role of every other S.H.I.E.L.D. agent and it was just like the ultimate troll? He's just a CG duplication in every role. That's Josh Cowdery.
Then we're really getting into the world of Skrulls and everything else.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
mm-hmm. He's a Skrull.
Deep Roy in the Willy Wonka remake.
Right.
Oh my gosh! Yeah, absolutely. Well, we end this minute. We come back into the bridge, and we're at the air deck. This is the giant window in the floor. I don't know why anyone would stand on a giant window in the floor of a giant aircraft in the sky, particularly one that has been attacked recently and has holes all over the place. Like, yeah, go stand on the window that just opens to the ground below you. That's really smart. Anyway, it does make Samuel L. Jackson look extra cool as he's standing on this glass looking at the playing cards. And this is the conversation we have between him and Maria Hill about these cards. We're starting it. We don't get the full conversation. We just get her coming up, revealing that they were actually in Coulson's locker, not in the jacket. You've heard some of the back episodes. Have you heard us talking about Maria Hill and kind of all of the deleted scenes with her, Dean?
Yeah, I have heard some talk about that, and I had watched those, and my first thought was like, oh, I'm glad they deleted these. That this whole wrinkle of anyone feeling that like the Avengers was a bad idea or this was a mistake or somehow they had, caused more trouble than they were worth or something that rang very false to me. But probably just because I had seen the movie as it was presented, and it seemed to contradict that. We talked about how Phil Coulson was our POV character before he died, and that sort of wants to make her be the POV character. But we'd seen Phil in 3 movies by this point, so and she was new to us. So yeah, I think ultimately it was good that they didn't use those moments. But yes, I do see the flip side of that is that then there's lots of moments that sort of feed into that are sort of orphans now.
Well, and that's what's interesting about this scene. And again, we're only getting the very, very start of this particular conversation about the cards and kind of Fury's motivations and stuff. But, and Pete, you and I will be able to talk about this as kind of this conversation continues, but it does make me wonder, like, how does this play thinking that there is this angle of Maria Hill not like trying to figure out what Fury was up to, but actually like doubting his decisions to do this and thinking that there were better ways. It makes for, I don't know, I suppose this would be one of those scenes where it could play in a really interesting way between these two characters.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely right. And I think I can't see these moments between Hill and Fury anymore without just a little bit of remorse that we don't get to see a more fleshed out relationship with them that includes some of the negativity, some of the acrimonious sort of bad blood between them that we get to see in that deleted scene. And this is one of those where this feels so much like a potential betrayal from her, right? That, and we get to see who was she closer to in the triad of Fury, Coulson, and Hill. Is she Team Coulson? Is that her? Is this fueled by her grief over losing this colleague and friend? They're kind of lurking in the background of so many scenes that we've talked about, right? So many set pieces. They're always there, kind of together, roving around, and even though they don't have a real substantive on-screen relationship together, it does feel like Hill and Coulson are kind of a team.
Being able to manipulate people only works if they don't know they're being manipulated. So Maria, by calling him out on, saying, "Hey, I know what you're doing. I know you're manipulating these superheroes that we've befriended. I'm on to you. Don't ever try anything like this with me." Is probably an aspect of it.
Yeah.
Also, there's the practical question, so is it really blood on the cards? Is it is it really Coulson's blood? I mean,
right.
That's pretty hardcore. If he went and just dip the cards in open wounds on his corpse, that would be pretty grim.
That's really gross. Yeah.
Especially because they'd have to roll him over to his back to.
Oh, I thought that. Yeah.
It's Galaga guy. He's actually Fury's blood boy.
God. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Dark places that we're going there.
Yeah. I also like the idea of Fury just opening up like a paint set and okay, what's the right way to use? Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, it's definitely an interesting conversation. We'll be talking about it more in the coming weeks or the coming days as we kind of continue the conversation between the two of them. And really, this leads into so much of what we've been talking about, Pete, as far as this position of S.H.I.E.L.D. Kind of leading down this road of fascism, and Fury making these decisions to lie to his team to get them to do what he wants and to see things certain ways and push them certain directions. And I think it's when you're watching the movie, you can understand some of that motivation, but it's pretty dark when you really start kind of piecing it together and pulling it apart.
Yeah. Dark, manipulative. Yeah.
Yeah,
for sure.
Absolutely. Well, I think that's pretty much it for this minute. So, Dean, something that, since this is the end of our conversations with you, what's your sense of the Avengers films as a whole? Do you have if you were kind of ranking just the 4 Avengers films, is there a particular order that you would put them in preferential order?
Yes, I think so. And I do love all of them. The only quibble would be whether this is second or Infinity War is second. That Endgame is just the be all end all for me. I could watch On Your Left through Avengers Assemble once a week and never get tired of it. And then so either this or Infinity War, both of which I love, are second. And Age of Ultron, I know that's generally thought of as lesser, but there's so many things that I enjoy about it. I so love the increased the evolving character dynamics. I love the new characters. I love James Spader, of course. So yeah, so they're debatably the best Avengers movie is Captain America: Civil War, which is this one is an Avengers movie starring Iron Man, and that one is an Avengers movie starring Captain America, basically.
Yeah, right.
But I'm all in on these. Yes, I know I expressed my distaste for Rogers the Musical, but
But if that's where you draw the line, fine.
Everything else in the Hawkeye show, I love. So yeah, I'm all in on these. They make me feel like a kid again, and what more can you ask of a movie?
Fantastic. Well, tell everybody one last time about your plays, where they can find them, and all that good stuff.
Yes, please. So I'm the author of a lot of plays that are staged by high school and middle school drama clubs, but community theaters can do them, summer camps, anybody who wants to have a good time. If you want to do a parody of the Avengers, which has characters in it with names like Ironica and Cinderella Liberty and Thorm and Smash, whose real name is Dr. Burkle, and he talked like Urkel, and Brown Recluse and Bo Just battling Yoki and Thanacopita. Then please head on over and check out Marvelous Squad at playscripts.com, along with some of my other parodies there. They're lots of fun and done with love. I have no desire to viciously attack things with my art. It's just a little gentle ribbing as tribute.
Wonderful.
That's fantastic. Well, we'll have the links in the show notes so you can check those out there, everybody, along with all of Dean's other places online. So check that out. You can learn more about what we're up to at marvelmovieminute.com. And that's it. We'll be back with another guest tomorrow for Minute 99. We're hitting almost the century mark. We'll be there soon. So, Pete? Thanks as always.
I wonder tomorrow, Andy, if we're going to reevaluate the volume of an unburdened Skarsgård.
Looking forward to that. Until next time, true believers.
Marvel Movie Minute is a production of True Story FM, engineering by Andy Nelson. This season's music is Message to the World by Anthony Vega, and this season's show art is by Winston Yabo. Find the show at truestory.fm. If your podcast app allows ratings and reviews, please consider doing that for our show.